Hey y'all, it's Diana again, and welcome back to a new installment of Woman Once Removed. Tonight I feel the need to talk to my brother Edmond. Now, Edmond is not his real name. That was a nickname that some of us used for him when we were young. And mainly it was to upset him and make him mad. Edmond was, or is now, he's still living, is 6 years older than me. And my oldest brother, Bud, he's 12 years older than me, and they're both still living. You can do the math, I'm 63, so we're all getting up there. We have longevity in our bloodline, so you don't know. But this is something I've been needing. I've felt the need to talk about for the last 40 years. You know, this was a situation that was difficult for everybody with my transition. It's not like, you know, you think about it today and you know, people are a lot more accepting than they were back then. Ones that accepted it were loving people. The ones who didn't made you feel like a freak because they felt like you were a freak. And that's the way it was with Edmond. We had been extremely close all of my life. Not to say that he wasn't always the gatekeeper. Now, if he found me dressing in girls' clothes when I was a little growing up, which I did, he'd burn those clothes. And sometimes I would try to hide those things to make sure I didn't do it when he was on the farm, make sure he was away somewhere. But I still did it, and if he found anything, he would burn it. And before that, when it was just playing with dolls, he would get rid of my dolls and my doll clothes and stuff. And I'd have to hide that stuff. Sometimes I'd even hide it in Mama's room so that he wouldn't go in there. And all of our life, he was always like a bully when he wanted to be, but I still loved him. I still loved him dearly. And I still love him today. And it still hurts after all of these years to not have him in my life, because I felt it was something I had to do. It wasn't just a fetish or something I wanted to do. It was something I had to do. You know, this is who I am. All the years before my transition, I was trying to pretend. Because when I got to the age to where y'all were telling me I was a boy and I was supposed to act like a boy, that meant I had to learn to act like a boy. That meant I couldn't be myself. I couldn't be who I really was because I embarrassed you all. You don't know how hard that was. And when I transitioned, I never had to do that again. From the time I left home, and I know that it hurt people, but did you ever think how I was feeling? Did you ever think about the hell that I was going through? I doubt it, because you were too busy considering that I was a freak, that I was a pervert, instead of just who I was. Now, if you don't want to think I will ever be a biological woman, then you're right. But I'm as close as you can get. And I'm happy. I'm happy with it. I'm happy not having male parts. I'm happy being able to get up every day and just be who I am. You know, I've not had to pretend since the day I left home. And I know that makes you uncomfortable. And it made you take your kids away from me and their grandparents. That was bad. That was very selfish, I think. I know it was something you felt like you needed to do. But you realize, Daddy had just lost his daddy about a year before, when you gave them the ultimatum that it was either me or them. Now, they never once told you that they were not going to let me come back to visit. They never once told you that. And at the time that you were giving this ultimatum, I had bought my first house. I wasn't living there. But you didn't want me to even come and visit my parents. And you know what Daddy told her? That she had to be good to me because I would be the only one of the three that would give them as much as a glass of water. Now that's what Daddy told Mama, and Mama told me. So they both loved me for who I was. And my grandpa did. Now, I don't know if you know this because I think you were in the Coast Guards at the time, but after Grandma died, they sent me over there to live. I washed clothes for him, I cooked his meals, I took care of the house, and went to school from there. Got on the bus and went to school. So he knew me, and he respected who I was enough to bring me back into the family as a full member. He wanted me at everything. Did that not tell you something? I mean, I didn't just have him fooled in any way. He knew me. He knew me enough to where the last year or so before he, passed away and he was still being the caretaker of Buck's farm, I'd ride out there with him and he'd stop at that old house. He said, I know you want to go up in that old house. He knew me. He took the time to know who I was. That's the reason he accepted me back into the family. He knew I was not some kind of a pervert. I was just being who I always was. How any of y'all could expect the child that dressed up in high heels and big hats and ladies' dresses and come parading out for everybody, how could you expect that person to be a normal male and marry somebody and have kids and be happily ever after? How could you expect that? It's not like you didn't have an inkling when I ran away from home at 13 dressed as a woman. All the times that all my stuff was found and y'all took it out and burned it. Did that not tell you something? It's not like I was wanting to go out and kill and eat babies or something. I was just wanting to be who I was, which is as close as I could be to a girl. Did you want me to wait like some of these late bloomers and wait until I was 60 or 70 to even transition? Instead of living my life as a young woman and finding some happiness in my life. You could have been part of that. I wanted you to be part of that. All those years I tried. I remember when Daddy died, and that first Christmas, I worked so hard to get the house together and all the food cooked and everything so that everybody could come home one last Christmas and it be as close as possible to like it always was. Mama wasn't able to do all that. I did it. And the only thing either of you could do was Buddy was telling me not to smoke because, I was staying in the basement, not to smoke and burn the house down. Nobody thanked me for doing anything I did. Nobody cared. They wanted me out of the picture. You all did. And when Mama came to you and asked about me living with her and taking care of her and giving me the house so I'd have a place to stay. And that was all I wanted. Y'all could have the whole farm. Couldn't do that. And then, when I said I wanted the lot next door that you originally was going to build a house on, could I have that lot to put a double-wide trailer on? You couldn't agree to that. If I had a lot back there, the rest of the farm would be worthless. Now, this is what she told me. Now, whether or not that actually took place, I don't know. I didn't hear it. I wasn't around it. But that's what she said. And what she said was that if you couldn't get along, she would sell the whole place. And that's what she did. If you think I was the one who influenced her to come to Mississippi, then you don't know my mama well enough. She only did what she wanted to do. Believe me. I said, I'll do whatever you want to do. And that's what I did. And I stayed with her 12 years, and it was not easy. If you think it was, I failed to dicker with you. She was very opinionated. She was very in control. And she was very much the woman who drove our father crazy. I learned pretty quick that it was the way she done is the reason he done the way he did. So, she stayed with him because she loved him, and he stayed with her because she had been his lover. We know Daddy was very oversexed, and when I moved in with her, she told me everything. I knew everything of what she did, what he did, about the adult motion pictures in the closet. I know all of that because she told it all. Neither one of them were too easy to live with, but I loved them both. And we both grew up in that household. How could you expect? I mean, you and Buddy did great. Hey, that's great. You don't understand how proud I've been of y'all all these years. But in turn, you've made me feel like dirt. I could have used a big brother, you know? I was never an alcoholic. I was never a drug addict. And after I had surgery, I was never a whore. So the only thing that you really were honestly about me was the fact that I was a transsexual that had a lot of intersexed condition going on with the hormones Mama took. I don't know if she ever told you any of that kind of talk either. But the last time that they took me to the pediatrician in Concord, I was 16 years old. And he did a test, and I had too many female hormones going through my body. And he wanted to put me on male hormones. But instead, we came to Mississippi to live. And that never happened, thank God. And finally, years later, she tells me, right before I get to go to have surgery, that the doctors had put her on a artificial hormone to keep her from miscarrying, because I'm sure that you remember that she miscarried before me. And the doctors wanted her to have her hysterectomy. She wanted to try one more time for a girl. So they put her on those hormones to keep her from miscarrying. She told me before I left, she said, I know that the reason for your condition was caused by those hormones. And do you know, I never thought much about it. But then years later, I learned about DES intersex, which is a condition caused by women who were taking disocebestrol. DES is short for disocebestrol. That was the medicine Mama was taking. It messed me up. I had no body hair, no facial hair, no muscle mass from a male. I was not secondary gender characteristics were not male. What I had was not even fully developed. So, I'm sorry that you were embarrassed by me. I was embarrassed that I was the way I was. but I needed my family to support who I was, because I didn't choose that. Who will choose such a life? I don't know. And my parents were willing to give me as normal as I could life after surgery with my family. Now, I grant they were wonderful people to love me anyway. And do you know when Daddy started feeling that way? It's when I had surgery in Trinidad, Colorado, Dr. Stanley H. Beaver, in 1977, August the 4th. After surgery, Dr. Beaver called Mom and Daddy's number. He said, "Miss Beaver, I just wanted to let you know that your little girl's doing just fine." Because it was over then. I was physically and legally a female from that moment. And she turned to Daddy and said, "This doctor said that your little girl is doing just fine." Once he knew that it was a done deal, he had no problems with it. Now, people like you may have made him feel inferior because of it, but how he really felt was a totally different situation. So I know how lucky I had it, how lucky I had to be welcomed back into the family. Of course, after Grandpa died, I was able to realize the ones that really did not fully accept. And one of those was Aunt Delcy. But did you also know that when Uncle Jack left her, I had to go and live with her until Jenny was able to come back with Michael? I've done my part. I was a good person. I was not the kind of person that needed to be shunned the way you shunned me. And I have Asperger's syndrome, and I have bipolar disorder. I've had hell with this condition I have, and I was born with it. I've done the best I can. I think I've done pretty good. And I just think that you should know that I love you. I am sorry for the loss of your son, your oldest son. That hurt me too. But there was nothing I could do about that. I was young. I was 19 years old. And I should have tried to make you understand. But since I grew up in the situation that I'm in, you didn't want to hear anything about it. One time you came over at Mom and Daddy's house, and they weren't there. You came barging back into the bedroom where I was, and I was putting on makeup, and you were going to tell me to wash my face. And I said, "Well, I'm at home," because I had never left home yet to move out. So that was the home that I was raised in, and I did feel like I was home. And you're going to tell me that that's not my home, that that's our parents' home, but it's not my home. I was just 18 years old then. You wanted to make me feel like a pure piece of shit outcast. And I'm sure it infuriated you. But there was no reason to be infuriated. I wasn't doing anything nasty or perverted or vulgar. I was just being me. I think I was putting on some mascara. I just felt like I needed to say this, you know, because at our ages, there's no telling. I might be gone, and you'll probably never hear this. And that's okay, too. At least I feel like I've spoken my piece. I've let it out. Maybe some of your kids will see it, or grandkids or something one of these days. And they can hear my side. You know, and then everybody in North Carolina, they get all upset. I'm sure that you and Nancy have just spread things. You know, whenever Mama was getting that VA money to pay somebody to look after her. I'm sure y'all think that I got that whole check. We're going to remember our mama, until she started taking a bunch of medicine there that last year or so before she died, had a clear mind. That money went to her. She gave me part of it, but she kept part of it so that she could pay bills with it, so she could pay other people who came and sit whenever I'd go visit my friend Judy in Columbus. But she didn't give me that whole check. And I had no idea whenever I left the country to move to Jordan to get married that I was supposed to fill out another paper. And when it came, Jean sent it to you. And I don't know what you did with it. You know, thinking that you were too above everything to even look into what it was. So now people think I just stole her money and then didn't take care of it. I did the best I could. You know, it was something I didn't know anything about. And then all of a sudden it was too late. So I can't worry about what people think about me in North Carolina, but I think way before any of that took place, there could be some communication between us. There should have been. So I just want you to know I love you. And I want you to know how much it hurts whenever, you know, you go to visit Aunt Aga all the time. Sometimes bringing that big motor home. It's right across the road from Jean's. Either I see it or Jean sees it, or both of us see it. and even Aunt Aga would ask Nancy, well, can I invite Diana to come over for a meal? Oh, that wouldn't be good at all. Eddie would get upset. You don't know how many times I've cried over that. I ought not. Everybody says I shouldn't. But in my heart, you are my big brother. And there's been many a time that I've needed to at least say hey to you, get a hug sometime. That's what big brothers are supposed to do. Yeah. So I'll get off here because I've let it all out. So, bye-bye.